You're listening to The Whole Truth, a Resources Rising Stars podcast.
Welcome to The Whole Truth podcast. This episode is coming directly from the Resources Rising Stars Summer Series in Melbourne. You'll notice there's a bit of a change in sound from our usual episodes, and that's because we've done this via a remote link right in the heart of this great investment conference. This episode features Steve Parsons, the Managing Director of Auteco. Steve will be known to many of you as the founding Managing Director of Bellevue Gold, and what a runaway success that has been. Steve's applying the same recipe of brownfields exploration to the company's recently acquired Green Bay Copper and Gold project in Newfoundland in Canada. You'll see from this, or rather you'll hear from this episode, Steve is a man in a hurry. He walks fast, he talks fast. We managed to grab him for about 15 minutes and he told us why the company is now perfectly positioned to ride the copper wave that's widely forecast to come our way over the next year or two on the back of the energy transition. This asset is very, very attractive. It's got a substantial resource, but as Steve points out, it's open all over the place. They've got one rig on the go with more booked to arrive on site. He's promising plenty of strong news flow over coming months as they grow the inventory and prepare for production. Steve is as highly regarded in the industry as he is connected. He's already been around the world talking to investors. The feedback he's got is fantastic, and I think you'll get a lot out of this episode of the Whole Truth podcast. Steve Parsons, what have you and Auteco gone on board?
Great question there, Paul. Well, it's a pretty amazing copper project with some gold associated with it as well. With a pretty amazing 40 million tonnes, or almost a million tonnes of contained copper at 2.1%. So very, very large ore body up in Canada, and we're really excited about it.
Now, why are you excited? What do you like about it?
There's probably a couple of aspects to it. First one is that the exploration upside on it is huge. So it already starts with a pretty big resource base, as I said, so 40 million tonnes at 2.1% copper with gold associated as well. But what we see geologically is that this ore body is open, and we think that we'll be able to grow this very quickly and very cost effectively over the next 6, 12, 18 months. So we're expecting to get some real big growth coming back on this property, and we think that that's going to grow to something that's probably going to be globally substantial, we believe, with very, very good grade copper as well. And probably the second aspect to it as well is, the project came with $250 million worth of infrastructure. So, we've managed to pick this up for an absolute score. And, we've got all that underground decline sitting there. We're at the bottom of the mine exploring at the moment. We've got the underground shaft there, so great for haulage for later. We've got hydropower running over the property. So, it's got a whole bunch of things that make it really straightforward for us to be able to fast track into production. Very similar to what we did with Bellevue Gold in a way.
This is a classic case of brownfields exploration, isn't it, Steve? And you're right in that sweet spot where, there's extensive mineralisation. So obviously you've got a substantial resource already. But your core strength and your group's core strength, as you said with Bellevue and other examples, is brownfields exploration. You're really just doing what you did at Bellevue in many respects.
Yeah, look, spot on there, Paul. I mean, we try and keep things simple. We try and do things that we do well, and we know that we do well. And so it is very much about, as I said, so it's one drill rig turning at the moment. We're ramping that up to 3 drill rigs over the next month. There's going to be multiple, drill hits into this high grade ore body, and it's literally just step out drilling, very simple, very low cost drilling. And we expect to see that resource growing from 40 million tonnes to something substantially larger over the next 12 to 18 months. And that's what we do well. And, in the background, that's exactly what we did at Bellevue Gold, as you said. But, the other beauty about this is with all that infrastructure there, again, we should be able to get this into production and cash flow much, much quicker as well, which, of course, will be great.
Now, what do you talk about the plan to grow it and production? Do you have a rough timetable, Steve, as to how you see this unfolding?
Yeah, so look, I mean, The deal was only finalised up in Canada 10 days ago, and I only started as MD 10 days ago. So, first steps first, and the first steps for us is about this drilling. So we've already done really well in the fact that we have that first drill rig on site already in that first 10 days, and it's already drilling. So we hope to get news flow out on that first drilling very, very soon. And as I said, ramping up to 3 drill rigs over the next few weeks. So plenty of news flow there as we grow that. But we will be starting to demonstrate next year. So in 2024, during the year, we'll be starting to show how we will be getting this into production and the type of scale that will be as well. We think that the project will command a large processing plant on surface that'll be producing a lot of copper. And with that hydropower there as well, we think that that's going to obviously be very low cost operation for us as well. Those sort of things will come out next year. But first steps first, it's really about growing that resource, just like what we did at Bellevue, and demonstrating that this is a substantial resource that is of global scale.
Now, they say business is all about timing, Steve. You've got a couple of bits of timing that would appear to be on your side. There is a distinct shortage of copper stocks on the ASX, and if you believe what all the smart analysts and others say, the demand for copper is about to take off on the energy transition. There is going to be a copper deficit coming our way. You seem to be preparing yourself to capitalise on those two opportunities.
Yeah, look, without a doubt. And I think the timing is going to be absolutely perfect for us. A resource that's going to grow very straightforward and low cost and into production at the right timing. As you said, there's very, very few copper producers on the ASX platform. There's very few copper producers globally as well in the junior space. Having just done a big roadshow around the world for the first time, seeing fund managers and analysts and bankers, we really did get on the radar. And I think that, if we can deliver on what we think we can deliver on over this next few months with these drill rigs, I think there's going to be a lot of interest in the company.
Now, Steve, people listening to this will probably say this is a fantastic opportunity. It's obviously a great asset with plenty of upside, but it would beg the question, how did Auteco come to get its hands on such a great opportunity?
Yeah, well, I guess it's one of those things, very, very lucky in a lot of ways. We were able to move very quickly. The story on the project was that it was a very high-grade, profitable copper mine in the 1980s and 1990s and 2000, and made a lot of money and produced at about 5% copper. So very, very high grade, probably pretty similar to DeGrussa with Sandfire when that was in its heyday. The mine then shut down, and then they had a discovery drill hole that they realised that there's big, broad, wide mineralisation going at 2%, and they drilled that out. And so that's where the 40 million tonnes of material is, so at the 2%. The company, a new company then started to mine that about 7 years ago, listed on the AIM market. And as we all know, the AIM market is not really a resource heavy jurisdiction to be listed on. They unfortunately weren't able to raise any capital along the way. They took on way too much very high cost debt on the project. They took out a bunch of streams and royalties, which took away a lot of the profitability on that mine as well. And they were mining this big, giant, wide ore body with very small mining equipment. And so that was high cost. So it was high cost mining, not utilising the hydropower over the property, with way too much toxic debt that really set them under with the streams and the royalties on top. And so the project went into administration. And so it was run by Grant Thornton out of the UK, a process. We were very lucky to get into that process. We worked really hard quickly. We offered some shares in the company to the debtors, and the debtors were very, very keen to take that stock. So they've now become shareholders in the company. So now we, as I said 10 days ago, we were awarded that. And the amazing thing about that is that there are no encumbrances or liabilities on this project anymore. There is no stream, there is no offtake agreement, there is no liabilities, there is no debt anymore. So a clean slate for us, and a clean slate for us to be able to grow the resource quickly, upscale the project, something into a much larger project that we think will be globally significant, utilising that hydropower and producing a lot of copper. So that's the game plan.
Now, Steve, you're known for not doing things at a leisurely pace. You mentioned the word quickly there. You've hit the ground running here, obviously already planning to ramp up the number of drill rigs and generate news flow. But it's probably worth outlining what else you've been up to, because you've had an opportunity to speak to some pretty big investors around the traps, haven't you, since you acquired the asset? What sort of feedback are you getting?
Yeah, so look, you're right. I mean, the deal was all done very quickly. We raised the $55 million plus the SPP for the retail market as well. That was all done quickly with institutional backers that have backed us in the past with the likes of the previous company, Bellevue Gold, that is associated with. And then on the back of that, the deal was only finalised 10 days ago. So the drill rig was turning on the day. Immediately we started there, so that was great to have that going. You've got to remember, we've been in country now for a few years with our previous projects, so we've got a great team of geos and the likes on site ready to go. So, it was really one quick step to get that happening. And then I literally have just been on the road showing now for the last 3 weeks through North America, seeing analysts and bankers and fund managers. And I think probably the real takeaway from that roadshow was that there's very few copper companies, pure copper companies out there that sit in the position of resource growth and fast tracking into development in very good jurisdictions. So, Newfoundland, Labrador is a great jurisdiction to be. It is a mining province. It is full of mines and people who want mines to happen, and a government that's very supportive. So, we should be able to get this into production very, very quickly.
Look, it sounds like you've put the company in a fantastic position. You and your team have positioned Auteco to ride the copper wave. 2024 does sound like it's emerging as the year of copper, and lo and behold, Auteco is sitting on what looks like an absolute beauty. What do you expect to do in a few months of early next year? You'll be spitting out assay results, I assume, and people will get a pretty good handle on just what it is you've managed to land for Auteco shareholders.
Yeah, that's right. We don't do things slowly. We like to hit things hard and get it done. We've got $24 million in cash in the bank, and that's going to see us through for the next 12 months. As I said, there's one drill rig turning already. The second rig should be rocking up on site very, very soon, and the third rig will be there on the 1st of January. So 3 drill rigs turning. That's exactly what we had at Bellevue Gold when we had that huge growth during those first few years. So we expect to have news flow constantly coming out. Assay turnaround time is very quick up in Newfoundland. And so, we should have some really good news flow as we grow this resource out using just straightforward step-out, low-cost drilling. And then the other thing to watch as well is no exploration work has been done on this property for the last 2 decades. So we're going to be utilising downhole geophysics and surface geophysics, and then drilling holes into brand new targets. So watch out for discovery drilling as well. Hopefully we have something there. But it is straightforward, step-out, simple growth, and lots of news flow during that time.
Well, Steve, you're clearly a man in a hurry, so we won't take any more of your time. But thanks for joining us on the Whole Truth podcast, and I think we'll track you down over Christmas just after to see how it's all progressing.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much, Paul. We should have first results back by then, so it should be something good to talk about.
We'll reconvene then. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers.
You've been listening to The Whole Truth, a Resources Rising Stars podcast, produced by Resource Media, hosted by Paul Armstrong for Reed Corporate. Please note that Reed Corporate does not provide investment advice, and investors should seek personalised advice before making any investment decisions.